It's no secret that Mohammed Bin Salman is loaded, but just how loaded are we talking? Well, let's put it this way. If you combine the net worth of Beyoncé, Jay-Z and Oprah, you still wouldn't even come close to this guy's bank account. And today, we're going to see exactly where all that cash is going. As the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, MBS isn't just royalty. He's one of the richest and most powerful people on the planet, with trillions of dollars at his fingertips. Thanks to Saudi Arabia's massive oil wealth and his family's empire, this dude can afford pretty much anything he wants. And oh boy, does he have some insane toys, from epic yachts and private jets decked out with every luxury you can imagine to palaces that put Versailles to shame. MBS is living the billionaire lifestyle on a whole other level. Collection of cars. When it comes to cars, MBS doesn't mess around. He's got a collection that would make any car enthusiast drool. And we're not talking about your everyday luxury rides. We're talking about some of the most exclusive and expensive vehicles on the planet. Take his gold-plated Bugatti Veyron, for example. This bad boy is worth a staggering $12.5 million, and it's not just because of the precious metal coating. The Veyron is already one of the fastest and most powerful production cars ever made, with a top speed of over 250 miles per hour and a whopping 1,200 horsepower under the hood. But MBS took it to the next level by adding that flashy gold exterior, making it a true one-of-a-kind masterpiece. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. MBS also owns a fleet of other luxury vehicles, including a custom Lamborghini Aventador, a sleek McLaren P1, and a classic Rolls-Royce Phantom. Each one of these cars is a work of art in its own right, with cutting-edge technology, premium materials, and stunning design features that set them apart from anything else on the road. But let's be real. When you're as rich as MBS, you don't just settle for stock models. No, he's got his cars customized to the max, with everything from diamond-encrusted badges to state-of-the-art entertainment systems. We're talking about cars that are basically rolling mansions, with all the comforts and amenities you could ever want. As you can imagine, MBS's car collection is the envy of gearheads everywhere. And it's not just about the price tag, although let's be honest, that certainly doesn't hurt. It's about the sheer extravagance and exclusivity of these vehicles. They're not just cars, they're status symbols representing the ultimate in luxury and power. Of course, for most of us, owning even one of these cars would be a pipe dream, but for MBS, it's just another day in the life of a billionaire. He can afford to buy pretty much any car he wants, and he's not afraid to show it off. So, what's the most expensive car in MBS's collection? It's hard to say for sure, but that gold-plated Bugatti Veyron has got to be up there. I mean, $12.5 million for a single car? That's more than most people will make in a lifetime. But hey, when you're sitting on a trillion-dollar empire, dropping a few million on a car is like buying a pack of gum for the rest of us. Still, it's fun to dream about what it would be like to have that kind of cash to throw around. And speaking of throwing cash around, wait until you hear about MBS's insane yacht collection. These floating palaces make his cars look like toys in comparison. The yachts. You thought MBS's car collection was impressive? Just wait until you see his yachts. These aren't your typical luxury boats. They're more like floating mansions, with every amenity you can imagine, and then some. Let's start with the Serene. This 440-foot super yacht cost a cool $500 million, making it one of the most expensive in the world. And it's not hard to see why. The Serene has 7 decks, each one packed with incredible features. There's a sun deck with a wet bar, a pizza oven, and a teppanyaki grill, perfect for hosting epic parties. There's also an indoor climbing wall, a children's playroom, and not one but 2 helicopter landing pads. Because why have just one, right? But that's not all. The Serene also has a health spa, multiple swimming pools, and get this, an underwater viewing room. Yep, you can literally sit and watch the fish swim by while you're chilling on this yacht. It's like having your own private aquarium, except way cooler. As if that wasn't enough, MBS also owns the Pegasus 8 yacht. This beauty used to be called the Princess Mariana, but MBS had it completely remodeled and renamed when he bought it for a casual $120 million. The Pegasus 8 is a bit smaller than the Serene, but it's still got plenty of space for all the toys. We're talking a spa, a cinema, a dance floor, a BBQ area, and even a mini zoo. Because what's a yacht without some exotic animals, am I right? There are also multiple swimming pools, a deck jacuzzi, and a children's playroom, because even billionaires need to keep their kids entertained. But here's the really crazy part. Bill Gates once rented the Serene for $5 million per week. That's right, even one of the richest guys in the world was willing to shell out that kind of cash just to spend a few days on this yacht. If that doesn't tell you how insanely luxurious these boats are, I don't know what will. Now, I know what you're thinking. But what about the inside of these yachts? What kind of fancy stuff does MBS have in there? Well, I'm glad you asked. The interiors of these yachts are just as extravagant as the exteriors. We're talking gold-plated fixtures, rare wood finishes, and custom-made furniture that probably costs more than most people's houses. And don't even get me started on the art and decor. MBS is known for his love of expensive paintings and sculptures, so you can bet that his yachts are decked out with some seriously high-end pieces. I wouldn't be surprised if he's got a Picasso or two hanging on the walls of the Serene. Of course, all of this luxury comes at a price. Not only do these yachts cost hundreds of millions of dollars to buy, but they also require a small army of staff to keep them running smoothly. We're talking chefs, cleaning crews, engineers, and even security teams to keep MBS and his guests safe while they're out on the water. But hey, when you're a billionaire, you can afford to have a floating palace with all the bells and whistles. And let's be real, if you had the kind of money MBS has, wouldn't you want to spend it on something as epic as these yachts? But believe it or not, the yachts are just the beginning of MBS's insane collection of toys. Have you seen his helicopters? These aren't your average choppers. They're like something straight out of a James Bond movie. Helicopters. If you thought MBS's yachts were wild, just wait until you get a load of his helicopters. I mean, who needs one helicopter when you can have a whole fleet of them, right? MBS owns not one, not two, but 8 helicopters. Yeah, you heard that right. 8 freaking helicopters. I guess when you're a billionaire, you need a different chopper for every day of the week, plus a spare just in case. But these aren't your average helicopters, oh no. MBS's choppers are tricked out with all kinds of crazy features. We're talking gold-plated interiors, plush leather seats, and state-of-the-art entertainment systems. It's like flying in a 5-star hotel, but with way better views. And speaking of views, MBS's helicopters are designed to give him the best possible vantage point while he's soaring above his kingdom. Some of them even have special glass-bottom floors, so he can literally look down on his subjects from the sky. Talk about a power move. But the real kicker is the customization. MBS doesn't just buy his helicopters off the shelf, he has them custom built to his exact specifications. That means everything from the paint job to the interior layout is tailored to his tastes. And let me tell you, the man has expensive taste. One of his helicopters, for example, is rumored to have a solid gold toilet. Yes, you read that right, a solid gold toilet in a helicopter, because why not when you're a trillionaire? Another one of his choppers has a fully stocked bar, complete with a bartender who mixes up MBS's favorite cocktails while he's flying. Can you imagine sipping a martini while you're cruising over the desert at 10,000 feet? It's the ultimate in luxury travel. But perhaps the most insane feature of MBS's helicopters is the landing pads. You see, he doesn't just land his choppers on any old helipad. No, he has special landing pads built on top of his palaces and yachts, so he can go from one ridiculous mode of transportation to another without ever touching the ground. I mean, can you even imagine having that kind of wealth and power to be able to hop from a helicopter to a yacht to a private jet all in the same day? It's the kind of lifestyle that most of us can only dream of. But for MBS, it's just another day in the life. He's got so much money that he can afford to buy pretty much anything he wants, and he's not afraid to flaunt it. His helicopter collection is just one more example of his over-the-top extravagance. So, the next time you see a helicopter flying overhead, take a closer look. It's private jets. I hope you're ready to have your mind blown, because MBS's private jets are on a whole other level. We're not talking about your standard first-class experience here. No, these jets are like flying palaces with amenities that would make even the most luxurious hotels jealous. Let's start with the Boeing 747 BBJ. This bad boy is basically a giant flying mansion with enough space to fit your entire extended family and then some. We're talking multiple bedrooms, a full dining room, a living room with a big screen TV, and even a spa. Yes, you read that right, a freaking spa in a plane. But that's not all. The 747 also has a full-size gym, complete with weight machines and cardio equipment. Because why not work out while you're cruising at 30,000 feet? And if you get hungry after your workout, no worries. The plane has a full commercial kitchen, staffed by world-class chefs who can whip up anything your heart desires. Of course, no luxury plane would be complete without a gold-plated bathroom, and the 747 delivers on that front too. The bathroom is decked out in solid gold fixtures, from the sink to the toilet. Talk about taking a golden shower. But if you thought the 747 was impressive, just wait until you see MBS's Airbus A380. This thing is a beast, with 4 levels of pure extravagance. The top level is reserved for MBS himself, with a private suite that's bigger than most apartments. We're talking a king-size bed, a full living room, and even a private office. The other levels of the A380 are just as insane. There's a concert hall, complete with a stage and seating for up to 50 people. There's also a garage for MBS's luxury cars, because why not bring your Bugatti with you on your flight? And if you need to relax after a long day of being insanely rich, the A380 has you covered. There's a Turkish-style bath complete with marble floors and gold-plated fixtures. There's also a prayer room because even billionaires need to pray sometimes. But here's the really crazy part. MBS doesn't just use these planes for travel, he also uses them for entertainment. The A380 has a full-size movie theater with plush leather seats and a giant screen. And if movies aren't your thing, there's also a casino on board, complete with slot machines and gaming tables. I know what you're thinking. How much does it cost to fuel these things? Well, let's just say that MBS probably spends more on jet fuel than most people make in a lifetime. But when you're worth trillions of dollars, who cares about a little gas money? So, there you have it. A sneak peek into the insanely luxurious world of MBS's private jets. These things make first class look like coach, and they're just one more example of how the rich live differently than the rest of us. But if you thought MBS's jets were impressive, wait until you get a load of his mansions. Mansions and palaces. I hate to break it to you, but if you thought MBS's private jets were the pinnacle of luxury, you ain't seen nothing yet. Just wait until you feast your eyes on his insane collection of mansions and palaces. I'm talking about architectural wonders that make the Palace of Versailles look like a kid's dollhouse. First up, we have the Chateau Louis XIV in France. MBS dropped a casual $300 million on this bad boy back in 2015, and it's not hard to see why. The place is dripping in gold and marble, with high-tech features that would make Tony Stark jealous. We're talking iPhone-controlled fountains, sound systems, and a meditation room with an underwater chamber. Because who doesn't need a little zen time in their moat? And don't even get me started on the amenities. The chateau has 10 bedroom suites, a library, a cinema, a wine cellar that can hold 3,000 bottles, and not one, but 2 ballrooms. Oh, and did I mention the squash court and the nightclub? Yeah, this place has it all. But the chateau is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to MBS's real estate portfolio. He's also got a few royal palaces back home in Saudi Arabia, like the Al Yamamah Palace in Riyadh. This place is so big, it makes Buckingham Palace look like a studio apartment. We're talking Italian marble floors, hand-carved ceilings, and gold-plated everything. Rumor has it that MBS has a room in the palace just for his collection of solid gold toilets. Talk about a royal flush. And let's not forget about the Erga Palace, another one of MBS's lavish residences. This place is decked out in the finest furnishings money can buy, with crystal chandeliers, silk curtains, and antique furniture that probably costs more than your entire house. The palace also has a huge outdoor pool, a tennis court, and a private zoo, because why have a dog when you can have a freaking lion, right? But here's the thing about MBS's mansions and palaces. They're not just for show. The guy actually lives in these places, and he expects nothing but the best. That means a staff of hundreds to cater to his every whim, from personal chefs to massage therapists to his very own hairstylist. And don't even get me started on the security detail. MBS's palaces are guarded like Fort Knox, with armed guards, surveillance cameras, and even a few tanks thrown in for good measure. Of course, all of this luxury comes at a price. MBS's real estate holdings are worth billions of dollars, and that's not even counting the upkeep and maintenance. Can you imagine the utility bills for a place like the Chateau Louis XIV? I bet MBS spends more on air conditioning in a month than most of us make in a year. So, there you have it. A glimpse into the jaw-dropping world of MBS's mansions and palaces. These places are so over the top, they make the average millionaire's mansion look like a shack. But hey, when you're the richest guy in the world, you can afford to live like a king, or in MBS's case, like a trillionaire. But as lavish as MBS's lifestyle may be, how does it stack up against other wealthy princes around the world? Wealth and lifestyle. Alright folks, it's time to take a step back and really examine just how insanely wealthy Mohammed Bin Salman truly is. I mean, sure, we've seen his lavish mansions, his tricked-out private jets, and his fleet of luxury cars. But how does he stack up against other rich princes out there? Well, let me tell you, MBS is in a league of his own. While other wealthy royals might have a few $1 billion to their name, MBS is sitting on a fortune that's estimated to be in the trillions. Yes, you read that right, trillions with a T. So, what sets MBS apart from the rest? For starters, he's got his fingers in just about every pie you can imagine. He's not just relying on his family's oil money, although that certainly helps. No, MBS is also heavily invested in tech companies, real estate, and even professional sports teams. Take his stake in Uber, for example. Back in 2016, MBS invested a cool $3.5 billion in the ride-sharing giant, making him one of the company's largest shareholders. And that's just one of many savvy business moves he's made over the years. But it's not just about the money for MBS. He's also got a lifestyle that's fit for a king, literally. While other princes might be content with a few luxury properties and a private jet or two, MBS takes things to a whole new level. He's got palaces and mansions all over the world, each one more extravagant than the last. And when he travels, he does it in style. We're talking private 747S with gold-plated bathrooms, Michelin-starred chefs, and even a garage for his luxury cars. But perhaps the most impressive thing about MBS's wealth is how he chooses to use it. Sure, he's not afraid to indulge in a little retail therapy now and then, like dropping $450 million on a Leonardo da Vinci painting, for example. But he's also using his fortune to transform Saudi Arabia into a global powerhouse. He's investing billions in projects like NEOM, a futuristic city that's set to be powered entirely by renewable energy, and he's even bought a controlling stake in a Premier League soccer team, turning it into one of the richest clubs in the world. So, how does MBS maintain his status as one of the wealthiest people on the planet? Well, it helps that he's got an entire country's economy at his fingertips, but it's also thanks to his business savvy, his diversified investments, and his willingness to take risks. And as for how he chooses to spend his billions, well, that's anyone's guess. With a fortune as vast as MBS's, the possibilities are truly endless. He could buy his own private island, commission a fleet of solid gold yachts, or even start his own space program if he wanted to. But one thing's for sure, MBS is living a life that most of us can only dream of, and as long as he keeps making smart investments and living large, he's likely to remain one of the richest princes in the world for years to come. But speaking of spending billions, wait until you get a load of some of MBS's most jaw-dropping purchases and investments. Lavish spends. When it comes to billionaire spending, MBS is in a league of his own. I mean, the guy drops millions on a whim like it's pocket change. Take his art collection, for example. MBS casually shelled out $450 million for the Salvator Mundi painting by Leonardo da Vinci. That's right, he spent almost $500 million on a single painting. And where does he keep this priceless masterpiece? On his super yacht, of course. As you can imagine, the Serene yacht is the perfect floating gallery for MBS's growing art collection. But it's not just about the flashy purchases for MBS. He's also a savvy investor with a keen eye for emerging industries. Naturally, he's heavily involved in the tech scene, with major stakes in companies like Uber and Virgin Galactic. And let's not forget about his gaming empire. MBS owns SNK, the company behind classic video games like Metal Slug and King of Fighters. He's also got investments in Activision Blizzard and Nexon. Clearly, MBS knows how to diversify his portfolio. Of course, no billionaire's spending spree would be complete without some seriously extravagant gifts. MBS is known for his generosity, often showering his friends and associates with lavish presents. He once gifted Lil Wayne a diamond-encrusted Patek Philippe watch worth over $1 million. And when the Saudi national soccer team beat Argentina in the World Cup, MBS rewarded each player with a Rolls-Royce Phantom. Talk about an MVP bonus, but perhaps the most mind-boggling example of MBS's spending power is his vision for the future of Saudi Arabia. He's the mastermind behind Neom, a futuristic megacity that's set to cost over $500 billion. This isn't just some sci-fi pipe dream either. MBS is already pouring billions into the project, which will feature flying taxis, robot maids, and even a giant artificial moon. It's like something straight out of a Marvel movie, but with an endless budget. Still, MBS's spending isn't just about personal indulgence or sci-fi passion projects. He's also a major player in the world of finance, with a fortune that's tied to some of the most valuable companies on the planet. As the chairman of the Saudi Public Investment Fund, MBS oversees a massive portfolio of assets worth over $500 billion. And let's not forget about his family's crown jewel, Saudi Aramco. This oil giant is the most profitable company in the world, with a staggering valuation of over $2 trillion. So, how does MBS maintain his status as one of the richest princes on the planet? Unsurprisingly, it all comes down to his unparalleled access to wealth and power. With trillions at his disposal, MBS can make even the most outlandish purchases seem like a drop in the bucket. And as the de facto ruler of Saudi Arabia, he's got an entire nation's economy at his fingertips. But MBS's influence extends far beyond his own country's borders. In fact, some of his most significant power plays involve global assets that most people have never even heard of. Control over global assets. We all know MBS has got some serious cash to throw around, but his real power comes from the assets he controls behind the scenes. Take Aramco, for example. This Saudi state oil company is the crown jewel of MBS's financial empire, and for good reason. It's sitting on an estimated 270 billion barrels of crude oil reserves, making it the most valuable company in the world by a long shot. But MBS isn't just content to let Aramco do its thing. Oh no, he's got big plans for this company. A few years back, he pushed for Aramco to go public, hoping to raise a bunch of cash to fund his ambitious Vision 2030 plan. And while the IPO didn't quite hit the $2 trillion valuation he was hoping for, it still brought in a cool $29.4 billion, making it the biggest IPO in history. Of course, MBS isn't putting all his eggs in the Aramco basket. He's also got his hands on the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund, known as the Public Investment Fund, or PIF. With over $600 billion in assets, the PIF is like MBS's personal piggy bank, allowing him to make big bets on everything from tech startups to real estate. One of the PIF's most high-profile investments in recent years was a $3.5 billion stake in Uber back in 2016. At the time, it seemed like a bit of a head-scratcher given Uber's sketchy reputation, but MBS wasn't just throwing money around for the heck of it. He saw an opportunity to get in on the ground floor of a company that was poised to revolutionize transportation, and he wasn't about to miss out. Since then, the PIF has been on a bit of a spending spree, snapping up stakes in everything from Tesla to the Saudi Stock Exchange. And with MBS at the helm, you can bet there's more where that came from. But here's the thing about MBS's financial power. It's not just about making a quick buck. It's about using his wealth and influence to shape the world in his image. Just look at his plan to build Neom, a futuristic city in the middle of the Saudi desert. With a price tag of $500 billion, it's the kind of project that only someone with MBS's deep pockets could even dream of pulling off. And that's just scratching the surface. Through Aramco, the PIF and his other assets, MBS has his fingers in pies all over the world. He's got investments in everything from renewable energy to artificial intelligence, and he's not afraid to use his clout to get what he wants. So while MBS may be known for his flashy purchases and lavish lifestyle, it's his unseen influence that really makes him a force to be reckoned with. With control over some of the most valuable assets on the planet, he's got the power to shape the global economy and geopolitical landscape in ways that few others can match. But as impressive as his portfolio may be, MBS isn't just focused on lining his own pockets. He's got a vision for the future of Saudi Arabia, one that goes beyond oil and gas. And at the heart of that vision is a little something called Neom. Neom and future projects. But folks, if you thought MBS's spending sprees and business ventures were wild, just wait until you hear about his plans for the future of Saudi Arabia. I'm talking about Neom, The $500 billion megacity that's set to make Dubai look like a quaint little village. Now I know what you're thinking. Another billionaire with a crazy vanity project? What else is new? But trust me, NEOM is unlike anything you've ever seen before. We're talking about a city that's 33 times the size of New York, powered entirely by renewable energy and filled with all sorts of futuristic goodies like flying taxis, robot maids, and artificial moons. Of course, building a city from scratch in the middle of the desert is no easy feat, even for someone with MBS's bottomless pockets. But that's not stopping him from dreaming big. He's already poured billions into the project, and he's got plans to turn NEOM into a hub for all sorts of cutting-edge industries, from biotech to robotics. So why is MBS so obsessed with this sci-fi city? Well, it's all part of his grand vision for the future of Saudi Arabia. For years, the country has been heavily dependent on oil, but MBS knows that can't last forever. That's why he's been pushing hard to diversify the economy, investing in everything from tourism to tech. And NEOM is the centerpiece of that plan. By creating a city that's not just livable but actually desirable, MBS hopes to attract top talent from around the world and turn Saudi Arabia into a global innovation hub. It's a bold move, but if anyone can pull it off, it's the guy with $1 trillion piggy bank. Still, NEOM is just one piece of the puzzle. MBS has also been making waves in the world of sports, and his latest acquisition might just be his most ambitious yet. I'm talking about Newcastle United, the Premier League soccer team that MBS and his buddies at the PIF just bought for a cool $400 million. Now I know what you're thinking. Why would a Saudi prince want to buy a mid-table English soccer team? But here's the thing, it's not just about the team itself. By investing in Newcastle United, MBS is making a strategic play for global sports influence. Think about it. Soccer is the most popular sport in the world, with billions of fans across every continent. And the Premier League is the most watched soccer league on the planet, with games broadcast in over 200 countries. By owning a piece of that pie, MBS is essentially buying himself a seat at the table of global sports power brokers. But it's not just about the prestige. Owning a Premier League team also gives MBS a chance to flex his financial muscles on the world stage. With the backing of the PIF, Newcastle United is now one of the richest clubs in the world, with the power to outspend pretty much anyone else in the league. And that's exactly what MBS plans to do. He's already talking about bringing in top talent from around the world, building a state-of-the-art training facility, and turning Newcastle United into a global brand. In other words, he's not just buying a soccer team, he's buying a chance to reshape the entire sport in his image. Newcastle United. But MBS's sporting ventures don't stop there. Just last year, he pulled off a move that shocked the soccer world: the acquisition of Newcastle United FC. This storied English club had been struggling for years, but with one stroke of MBS's pen and a check for $400 million, Newcastle suddenly became the richest team in the Premier League. Now you might be wondering why a guy like MBS would bother with a mid-table soccer club. After all, he could probably buy half the teams in the league without breaking a sweat. But here's the thing, for MBS, it's not just about owning a team. It's about using that team to project his influence on a global scale. See, soccer is more than just a game. It's a cultural phenomenon, a source of national pride, and a way to connect with people all over the world. And the Premier League is the biggest stage of them all, with billions of fans tuning in every week to watch the likes of Manchester United, Liverpool, and now Newcastle United. By buying into this world, MBS is essentially buying a piece of that global influence. He's not just the owner of a soccer club, he's a major player in the world's most popular sport. And with the backing of the PIF, you remember that's his $600 billion piggy bank, he's got the resources to turn Newcastle into a powerhouse. Of course, it won't happen overnight. Building a winning team takes time, even with all the money in the world. But MBS is nothing if not patient. He's already brought in some top talent like manager Eddie Howe and Brazilian forward Joelinton, and he's got plans to invest in the club's infrastructure, from the training facilities to the stadium itself. But here's the really interesting thing. MBS's investment in Newcastle isn't just about winning trophies. It's also about changing the way the world sees Saudi Arabia. For years, the country has been associated with oil, deserts, and controversial politics. But by becoming a major player in the world of sports, MBS is hoping to give Saudi Arabia a new image, one of modernity, innovation, and global influence. And it's not just about soccer either. MBS has his fingers in all sorts of sporting pies, from Formula One to golf to boxing. He's even talked about bringing the Olympics to Saudi Arabia someday. Imagine that, the world's biggest sporting event held in the middle of the Arabian desert. Of course, not everyone is thrilled about MBS's growing influence in the sports world. Some have raised concerns about Saudi Arabia's human rights record and questioned whether the country should be allowed to use sports as a way to whitewash its image. But for MBS, these concerns are just background noise. He's got his eyes on the prize, and he's not going to let anyone stand in his way. Still, you have to wonder what's next for MBS and his sporting empire. Will he buy more teams, build more stadiums, take over entire leagues? With the kind of money and power he's got, anything is possible. But you know what might be his most audacious move yet? That would have to be his purchase of the most expensive painting in the world, a move that shocked the art world and cemented MBS's status as the ultimate luxury collector. Want to know how he pulled it off? Salvator Mundi. But folks, MBS's influence doesn't stop at the soccer pitch. He's also making waves in the art world, and his most audacious move yet might just be his purchase of the most expensive painting in history, Leonardo da Vinci's Salvator Mundi. Now, if you're not an art buff, you might be wondering what the big deal is. I mean, it's just a painting of Jesus, right? But as you can imagine, this isn't just any old painting. It's a masterpiece by one of the greatest artists who ever lived, and it's got a price tag to match. So, how much did MBS shell out for this baby? Hold on to your hats, because it's a whopping $450 million. That's right, nearly $500 million for a single painting. It's enough to make even the most seasoned art collectors do a double take. But for MBS, it's just another day at the office. When he wants something, he gets it, no matter the cost. And in this case, he wanted the ultimate status symbol, a painting that would cement his place among the world's elite. Of course, the purchase of Salvator Mundi didn't come without its fair share of controversy. Some art experts questioned the painting's authenticity, while others balked at the astronomical price tag. But MBS didn't let that stop him. He had his heart set on owning a piece of history, and he wasn't going to let anyone stand in his way. So, what does a guy like MBS do with a $450 million painting? Well, rumor has it that he's got it stashed away on his mega yacht, the Serene. Can you imagine having a $500 million work of art just hanging out in your floating mansion? It's the ultimate power move. But for MBS, the Salvator Mundi is more than just a pretty picture. It's a symbol of his growing influence on the global stage. By flexing his financial muscles in the art world, he's sending a message to the rest of the world. Saudi Arabia is a force to be reckoned with, and he's the man at the helm. Still, you have to wonder what kind of impact MBS's spending habits are having back home in Saudi Arabia. With so much money flowing out of the country and into things like yachts, soccer teams, and paintings, some have questioned whether he's doing enough to support his own people. But MBS seems to have an answer for everything. He's not just a billionaire playboy. He's also a philanthropist and a visionary leader. At least, that's the image he's trying to project. And what better way to do that than by giving back to the people of Saudi Arabia? Naturally, MBS has been making headlines with his charitable donations and high-profile acts of generosity. From building housing for the poor to supporting education and healthcare initiatives, he's been working hard to paint himself as a benevolent ruler who cares about his people. But here's the question on everyone's mind. Are these acts of charity just a smokescreen to distract from his more controversial moves? Or is MBS genuinely committed to using his wealth and power for good? Unsurprisingly, opinions are divided. Some see MBS as a true reformer, while others view him as a ruthless autocrat. But one thing's for sure, his philanthropic efforts are just as carefully calculated as his billion-dollar purchases. So what's the real story behind MBS's charitable giving? Is he a generous soul or a savvy political operator? Well, buckle up, because we're about to take a closer look at the prince's philanthropic side and what it really means for the future of Saudi Arabia.